Alright, hello everyone. My name is Disc, and this is a 20 Halls of Atonement. I haven't been playing much this week because I've been working on other projects, but I did want to get a key in here showing you how possible Fortified, Grievous, Spiteful is for Discipline. I think the going argument these days is Discipline isn't good enough for a week like this, and I just wanted to show you that it totally is. It might not be as fun, but we still get good play here. Grievous was nerfed a long time ago, and we have Boon every pull, which completely negates Grievous. So I tone everybody before we leave the gate, and we're fortified. We're going leftwards. I don't know what our Druid was thinking there. But definitely watch out for deadly thrusts in a group like this. I'm getting as many dots out as I can before Thrash. I PI our Mage, but should have PI'd our Druid. And we get into a boon here. Blast, Dispel, Blast. And completely favoring a Nova Blast pattern there. It was a large enough group where straight Novas would have done more damage, but we needed the healing, so I can't drop Blast. And for this Thrash, we have Shadow Fiend and Schism. And this guy, off to the side, just shooting everyone. Go ahead and drop a Fear on him just to break some of that damage. And this is probably the only place where Discipline really struggles this week, is when you have a Mage that eats 4 melee hits in a row. It's just going to demand us to straight Shadow Mend, which is not how our class is designed to play. And for a group like this, I'm staying opposite of our tank, keeping an eye on his nameplate. And I get into a Schism boon favoring Nova. Sear the group. So on a Spiteful week, Shining Force is our best friend. Always got to keep an eye on your allies. Party nameplates will really help not only just keep an eye on where they are in the field for the Shining Force, but it'll also help you line up your grips. And here comes a grip. Our Druid's stuck over here. I see him down there really struggling. I'm trying to get a grip on him. There we go. And I don't really have any cooldowns here, but Horus doesn't do too much. So we're just going to use our mana to get through this one. We have AoE coming up next. Silly Paladin. And we have one more PI before the Shard. And it's been available for me for a while, so I go ahead and drop it on our Mage. You know, arguably not the best play, but this is a 20. I'm not too stressed about perfect cooldown distribution. And we only have one more before the Shard anyway. I thought we could get full value there, and we did. So, whatever. Anytime we have a Druid in the group, I skip over mana powers. And this is a 20, so it's not too pressing. Always best to throw a Mind Soothe on these guys. Oh, I skipped it, just kidding. So this is a boon pull for us. I lead with as many dots as I can. Get a couple of atonements out. Schism. and boon. For a group this size, I am favoring Nova. Worked in a Radiance and 1 Blast for healing at the end. Getting dots out on the more healthy mobs. And we're just gonna Seer for the win. And that was a bad play from me. I punted. I think I was trying to save the tank, but you never want to punt there. Mobs can go down below and social aggro people up. Thankfully, nothing bad happened, and I tried to play it off saying I meant to do that. Okay, there's the Mind Soothe. And we have a shard pull. I could have played this better, but we made it. And the tank asked big. So our Druid's proven himself. He's going to get my PI this time. I give him a couple seconds head start. And Schism boon. And this is where you'll see I get Innervate on a boon. Completely wasted. Boon costs no mana. Our Druid pulled aggro there. Sad to see it, but at least he got full value of the PI. And I was a little late to react to that Siphon Life, and it did lead to a death. I wall because I'm scared of that curse. But for that round, we had a Shadow Fiend and Schism. Was a lot quicker on the next Siphon Life. You want to be as quick as you can on those. There's a return to the caster. And for this one, I use Barrier. Was running a little bit dry on cooldowns, and I try not to Rapture for the DPS loss, so I barriered and kept DPSing. So I always try and coordinate Innervate with my Druid, using a Weak Aura and ERT to request. We don't really need it here, but the reason you want to manage it yourself is for cases like that. When you're entering boon and you get a perfectly timed Innervate on top of boon. Got literally no value on it. So for this guy, this is the only place where Discipline can, bite off more than they can chew. We entered combat with a lot of health missing in the group and without much mana. But I'm trying to just muscle through this. We have an AoE pull next. I go ahead and pot an Arcane Torrent to regain a little bit of mana. And here, right at the tail end, I have just enough mana for Schism, and a Penance, and a Mind Blast, and we made it. So, I didn't want to use Boon there, although it would have made it a lot easier. Oftentimes, Tormentors are kind of looked at as recharge moments, and with a substantial AoE pull coming up next, I did not want to use Boon on a single target. But here we have Boon, we have PI, and I think we go downstairs to the left. So we split this platform up into two, which is fine. I'm getting out a handful of dots before I get out a handful of Atonements, PI or Druid, Schism, Boon. Large group, I'm favoring Novas. Yeah, all I did was Nova for 10 seconds. And then sear the group. That could have killed someone. Thankfully it didn't. Yeah, I punted that shade into the group, not knowing who he was targeting. So here we have a shard. It is a small pull, but he is fortified. We're going to need 1 cooldown per thrash. Get them both dotted, get the group atoned, Shadow Fiend and Schism. A little bit late on that Siphon Life again. So in a 2 pull like that, I'll always want to spread my dot with Penance. You'll notice 1 fell off, so I penanced the other target. And I had to wait on Boon just a little bit, but I definitely wanted to Boon for that Thrash. And that was a Blast Radiance Blast to cover for the Eruption and to recoup. And for this one I request Innervate with ERT. Using my Grid 2, I'm keeping my shields fresh on the group. Also favoring myself last, we used the conduit Charitable Soul. All shields add a return shield to us, so you can favor everyone else and you can maximize Rapture a little bit more that way. But a completely free Rapture with Innervate feels so good. Another downside to Rapture is it's a big mana dump, so when you can get it totally for free, that's the way you want to do it. Dot the whole group. This is Boon. We were just waiting a second for it to come alive, and we Schism Boon. Small group like this is a Nova Blast pattern. I'm staying opposite the group from the tank. Top it all off with a Seer. So when the shades target you, they give you a debuff. You can also keep an eye on your bars for as mobs are dying. If you get a debuff on you, you know to keep an eye out. And we did have PI, but with a Druid in the group with a 3-minute cooldown to our 2-minute cooldown, there is going to be a little bit of loss, but in a group like this, it's not really loss. It's what you want to do. Boomkins are the best PI target. We have a boss next, and the Boomkin is just now available, so it's his time to shine. And for this boss, there's really nothing to do but DPS as hard as you can. So I open with a Schism and Boon for 10 seconds. And I gave PI to our Druid with just about a 4 or 5 second delay. That will maximize their window. And here comes my second Schism. Make sure my dot is refreshed. Make sure the Atonement on the tank is refreshed. Shadow Fiend and Schism. Just pumping my main rotation as hard as I can. But this was really the Druid's fight. If you check the meters, that PI was super fat for him, and he basically just deleted this boss by himself. In a situation like this, where there's 2 of us that have to walk through the red, you can definitely throw a barrier down just to kind of cushion that maneuver. Looks like the tank used it a little bit too to bait that attack. Pro. And first boss down. This is not quite a standard route. Usually the trash at the top of the steps here is skipped these days, but we pull it. And it is a pretty large pull, so this is a good AoE for us. So I Schism and Seer. I don't have Boon yet. I get a handful of dots out. I'm anticipating boon in a couple of seconds, so I'm refreshing dots, refreshing atonements, and go into a boon here. Keeping an eye on where our tank is positioned, and this is all Novas. And top it off with some more Seer. I try not to boon without Schism, but the way things were playing out there, I did. A little bit less damage, but that was a large group and still really good value there. But I used Schism on Seer, which was fine. And then I got a full value boon. And this next skip here is completely doable with the patrols, but definitely easier without. So you can Mind Soothe, Fade, toss another Mind Soothe, mount, and you can sneak right by everyone before your fades. And our mage is like way back there for some reason. But yeah, you don't need to use a potion there as a priest. Toss out a few feathers for sport. And I've been holding PI for a minute or so, but the Druid is just now available. So you do want to delay just for the efficiency of Celestial Alignment, but I delay for the adds. So here's our first add phase. Get in Seer. And we have 2 decurses here, but not being tyrannical, I guess that's why they favored to just decurse themselves, especially when they were in their cooldown windows. That's fine. But good practice as a priest is to toss a feather on the leap target. It's a 5-second buff, which will last long enough to help them escape the leap if and when they're decursed. And I was anticipating them not decursing me, so I walled preemptively there. And I'm the only one with cooldowns for this phase, so Schism and Boon. I favor Nova at the start just to get the adds down. Toss in a Radiance just before the eruption, and that was a heavy Nova boon. Feather the target. He wasn't decursed though. It's still the way to play this boss. I think our Mage and Druid know that, but since it's not tyrannical, they're choosing just to let themselves DPS, which I guess that's fine.
One of the more ruthless Malorne draws close. Be ready.
And here we have Varuth. I request Innervate. Completely mana-free barrier, which is the only way I want to do it. And the Druid left the barrier for the attack, but you can always grip someone back into the barrier to help mitigate the dot it leaves. And for a Tormentor, especially Varuth when Shadow Fiend's available, Shadow Fiend and Schism, we want the healing, we want the mana, we want the DPS. One good rule of thumb when DPSing as a Discipline Priest is you always need to roll your main rotation spells when they are available. So that means you save redotting and maybe reatoning for the window when they're all down, so that when they are available, you can roll them as quickly as possible. Hope that made sense. So 2 feathers to help our tank rally, a feather on his exit, and also grip him to safety. And here I want to give him a couple of heals, but the whole group is body pulled, so if you fade, it'll put you below. This is a PI and Boon pull. lead with a lot of dots, get PI out while I can, reatone, schism, and boon. So in a boon like that, I had to break twice, which isn't ideal, but I had to break for the Siphon Life Dispel, and I also needed to break for Radiance because the group needed health. And this is usually a skip for the Tormentor. Always throw a Mind Soothe on him just to keep him where he is. And this boss also doesn't require much, so you're free just to DPS as hard as you can and practice that rotation, always keeping your Solace, Penance, Mind Blast, Death, always keeping those rolling when they're available, as little uptime as possible. I was just waiting a second on Boon, so Schism and Boon, and this is 10 seconds of Nova Nova Blast. You can get a little return when you hit those ghosts, so try and hit them when they're up. And Fiend is about 20 seconds away, so I go ahead and roll a Schism in between while I'm waiting. But we want to just use our Fiend here for the extra DPS. You always want to redot and at least reatone the tank before you Schism. So Schism just came available, Shadow Fiend, Schism. And thankfully we had a cooldown rolling there, so I tossed a Radiance just to get the Atonement heals off the Fiend. And I guess I was trolling here, but you tell me if you saw a lantern up where the tank's standing. Him and the boss are... I can't even see it. But it's non-tyrannical, it's a 20. I hope they got a laugh out of it maybe or something, but yeah, the tank's calling me bro, he's so mad. But I can't see it, get off the lantern. But the boss is dead, so... I couldn't see it. Sue me. And that was a little bit of a dry boss. The way our cooldowns roll here with a Druid is we have no CA, no PI there, but we PI'd this room. So his Starfall, if you check, is just wrecking everybody. So I PI him with a little bit of a delay, get a couple dots out, and I'm just searing this group as much as I can. It is nice to boon this room, but we want to make sure he's done all of his heals before we boon. And the way this one rolled with the Starfall, he only gets one Dark Communion here. So, did not get great return on my boon. I just didn't have that many adds to hit. Usually there's more, but the Druid, yeah, if you look at the meters, that's just crazy. I accidentally cast Levitate there. It's embarrassing. Yeah, Mind Seer while there's more than one up. Always try and reserve death, or not reserve death, but make sure you use death in that sub 20 range. You can use your nameplates to help track that. Mine turned from red to white. So in this boss, I have 30 seconds to PI. Our Druid has a minute 20. But there's no reason to hold for this boss, because the way the previous room works, it's not an either or scenario. It's not like we get only one or the other. We can get both. We just don't have it available at the start of the boss. But popping a cooldown mid-boss is no different than the start of the boss. Maybe unless there's Bloodlust, but always opt for one more round of spells. If he would have held the previous room, it would have been a huge loss, even if he would have had it at the start of this fight. So redot. I start my Atonement ramp with a Shadow Mend. It increases your healing by loading 2 Atonements into the same global. And this is a Schism boon, Nova Blast pattern. I didn't even refresh Atonements, I just went for the return and DPS. So Druid trolled. That's alright. We have Aleez coming into the rescue, having a quick battle res. He comes up just in time for his ramp. So I'm watching for his Q. I'm going to give him about a 4 to 5 second lead. There's his Q. And there's the PI. And this is a Shadow Fiend round. So Shadow Fiend Schism. Roll my main rotation. Have to work in a few Shadow Mends too, but that's alright. More trolls. And that was it. So, yeah, Halls of Atonement 20. Not the hardest dungeon, but anyone who's watching this, like, I didn't even notice Grievous once. It never got the best of us. I don't even display value on my bars, and it was just fine. And if you were to look at my healing breakdown, Atonement is still my #1 heal. I'm not even spamming Shadow Mend that much. But we had a pretty good group. Not a perfect run, but we were able to recover, and we never had a full wipe. And the Boomkin really did great here with PI. Priests always want to be at the bottom of the avoidable damage. And yeah, Grievous this week really isn't a problem for anyone who thinks it is. There you go. And until next time, everyone, Disc out.